Welcome back to 104.7 Rossendale Radio. That was Brimful of Asher, Corner Shop. And my guest this evening is Simon Parkin, television legend of the Broom Cupboard and much, much more. But nowadays, joining me from another radio studio. It's not often I get to do radio studio to radio studio. But whereabouts are you at the moment, Simon?
Well, don't tell them, because I'm illegally using their microphones and kit. I'm here at the BBC. I do a daily program on BBC Radio Somerset. I've lived in Somerset for God knows how many years now. I think it's about 25 years. I think it might be. And I was never ever lucky enough, apart from when I lived in London and was doing the children's BBC and the GMTV, I've never sort of lived where I've worked. So I used to live in Somerset and would commute to Wales every day. And then I lived in Somerset and commuted to Southampton every day. And there's a time when I had to go up to Liverpool twice a week. And then whilst I was here, BBC Radio Somerset invited me to do a Saturday breakfast show. And so for 16 years, have been getting up at 4 o'clock on a Saturday morning to do the program. And all the while that I was doing all of these other things, I was working for ITV, I was doing lots of different stuff. And they kept on coming to me and saying, do you think you'd ever come and work here all the time? And I kept saying, oh, the money's not quite right, and all that kind of stuff. And then eventually the opportunity arose where it just, the timing was all right. It was all perfect. And so I then started working here full-time every day. And thank God, because then the pandemic came along, and if I'd been commuting to all sorts of different places, I'd have had no work whatsoever. So that's where I am. I'm at BBC Radio Somerset. Of course, the joy now is that any radio station is all over the world because of the internet and stuff. So, it's really lovely. We are targeting the county that I live in, but at the same time, we get listeners from all over everywhere. So it's great. So it's a really nice place to work.
So do you find that difficult sometimes? Like you say, sort of radio has opened out, and radio, as we know, is changing all the time. We're a community station. You guys are a sort of BBC station, but is networked and can be broadcast internationally, same as we can even. Is the kind of voice of radio changing, do you think, as the means of delivering it sort of just evolves over time?
Well, I think my children, I have two children who are now, gosh, how old are they? Got no idea. 26 and 23. They neither of them listen to the radio. They don't see the radio as being a viable prospect because they have Spotify, because they have streaming services, so they can pick and choose and they can do what they like. But go up a generation and you find that you want to listen to the radio in the car because it's nice company when you're commuting to and from wherever, and go up another generation and radio was always on in the kitchen in our houses. The radio was that was the start and end point of the day. You'd turn on Noel Edmonds on The Breakfast Show on Radio 1 and you would come home to Kid Jensen doing the Drive Time Show, and that would be bookend your day. And so there are still an awful lot of people who just like the comfort of bit of chat going on in the corner, a bit of nice music playing, maybe a competition. Oh, that was quite funny. What an interesting guest. And so I think whilst radio as a whole is very different, like you say, people don't listen to it on a radio necessarily. They listen to it on a phone app and all that kind of stuff. But I think the kind of radio that I am still doing, while the BBC let me, they may well sack me tomorrow, is the kind of radio that I used to love listening to, because I still want to hear interesting people telling interesting stories. I still want to have a bit of, funny chat, hopefully. And I still want to hear all the great songs that I love hearing. So I think whilst radio is different than it was, I think there's still a place for what it was. At least I hope so.
And your show, it's a sort of, you're now midweek, aren't you? And through the week, and you have a sort of magazine style show. Is it sort of like you say, lots of different things going on during the course of it?
Yeah, we do unashamedly. We just sort of do nice people with nice stories to tell. So, for example, yesterday I spoke to a woman who, when she was diagnosed with cancer, it got her thinking about the things she had put her body through
Mm.
over the years, like wearing underwide bras, like wearing stiletto heels,
Right.
and then things like cancer and the way that changed her relationship with her body. So what a fascinating person to have a chat with. Equally, I had a lovely conversation with Lost Voice Guy, the comedian who won Britain's Got Talent, Lee Ridley, who's coming to Somerset to do a gig. And he was fascinating to talk to about how his life changed when he went on a random TV show. And I've been so lucky that we've talked to famous people. We've talked to people just to have interesting stories. So we talked to people who've bought out the most incredible books. And that's the joy of the show, that we just talk to interesting people. And hopefully those conversations spark our listeners to go, oh, well, actually, you were talking about to that man who cycled up and down the country and got a puncture halfway up a mountain and had to carry his bike on his bike. Well, you'll never guess what happened to me when I was riding a tandem in London. And so it all just snowballs into this kind of whole mishmash of nice stuff. And it's interspersed with, here's a nice record from Sister Sledge, and everybody's happy.
Yeah, unfortunately, we can't play any Sister Sledge on the 90s rerun because they didn't have any. But, you know,
curses. They've let us down.
Curse your references. It's been an absolute delight talking to you, Simon. I've got to say, I could talk to you all night. Unfortunately, we also have to play some records here on the station. Now, if you're going to finish with a record in your top three of picks, you would definitely go for the Manic Street Preachers, and particularly from that album, Everything Must Go. A Design for Life was a momentous song, wasn't it?
Oh, it was great. It was great. Let me tell you that through my growing up, records were very important. When I was little and knew that I wanted to be something to do with pop music, it was buying 7-inch singles. It was using all of my pocket money to buy the records. And then as I grew up, records became even more important, CDs and all of that. And then I was working in an industry where I was getting to meet these people. Oh, it was all great. Then I had kids, and then suddenly it was all the wheels on the bus go round and round. and there was absolutely no room in my world for pop music. And then I sort of stopped listening to pop and I stopped buying records. And then I remember seeing the Manic Street Preachers on Top of the Pops doing A Design for Life. And that made me want to get that record. And so I went out for the first time in about 5-6 years and bought an actual CD single. That's how good this record is, that it kind of got me back on the straight and narrow when it comes to music.
And now you get to play it whenever you want. I think things have worked out absolutely perfectly for you.
I couldn't be happier.
Simon Parkin, thank you very much for joining us on the show now. We'll play for you the Manic Street Preachers. Stay safe, and we'll speak to you again soon.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me.